Hey everybody, Thomas Vanderkin back again on the Vanderkin verse. Today I'm so excited I got Grant Castle with me. He's the Vice President, Device Engineering and Technology Labs at T-Mobile. Hey Grant, thanks for joining the show.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm actually a veteran at T-Mobile. I started 26 years ago, actually this week, as an intern. So I've been through all the G's, starting with the big old analog phone, and now we're deep into 5G. So it's been quite a ride.
Yeah. So the name of the show is What's Cool About 5G? So I'll just kick it off with that. What's cool about 5G, Grant?
Yeah, 5G is exciting. I think for a couple reasons. One is it is sort of the culmination of 4 generations of wireless technology, right? So we've learned a lot over the many decades. And so we've really taken all those learnings and put those into 5G. And most importantly, the biggest thing you learn about wireless is the spectrum is everything, right? The wireless waves that connect everybody is the most important thing. And what 5G has really done is it's unleashed pretty much all the spectrum that's out there to be essentially combined into a wireless connection. So, it used to be that you would get a part of the wireless connection and, you were a small piece of what's possible. But now 5G phones today can essentially harness all the spectrum simultaneously. And it's really that power that really allows you to unleash some amazing stuff with 5G.
I've never heard anybody explain it like that before. So I've Googled you, found a bunch of stuff about Grant Castle, T-Mobile. One of them was this pretty neat article about how you think it's going to affect rural America. Can you tell us a little bit more about 5G in rural America?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's interesting about 5G wireless is the best way to address a lot of the challenges that we have in rural, right? Big, wide open spaces. People are not close together, they're far apart. And a lot of internet service providers have struggled to provide, service in those areas because it's challenging from a business perspective and just physics. The nice thing about wireless is designed to go far. But the trick is you have to have the right spectrum for it, right? And as RF engineers know, you have to have the right spectrum to do the right job. And when you're in rural America, having low band spectrum is king. So T-Mobile, a couple years ago, bought a lot of low band spectrum. We're actually the largest spectrum winner in the 600 megahertz auction a few years ago. And we have invested heavily in taking that spectrum to all of America, including rural America, and essentially enabling both expanded LTE coverage and using that for 5G as well. So we're really able to bring kind of all that wireless has to offer to all of rural America. So that's what's really exciting.
So it's the 600 megahertz spectrum that's able to get to rural America. Is that the idea?
Yeah,
sort of like the
absolutely.
AM spectrum of, if you did an AM/FM analogy, is that kind of the idea? It's kind of like AM spectrum of wireless?
Well, kind of, although actually, to be clear, that spectrum was in use by TV broadcasters. So, those were providing TV stations to those areas. And a lot of those broadcasters have relocated. So, we're effectively doing the same things that, middle America TV broadcasters were doing. So, that's really nice. And it was actually a really nicely done auction. The FCC was very innovative in taking spectrum that was owned by TV broadcasters and finding a way to make it valuable to them and also valuable to the wireless industry. So it was a really good partnership.
Interesting. And obviously, recently you brought Sprint on board. Do they bring any additional spectrum or any advantages to the existing T-Mobile capabilities?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been actually a great coming together. The Sprint team is a great match for the T-Mobile team, and they bring a couple key things. The one most important thing is spectrum. As I mentioned before, spectrum is king in wireless. And the unique thing that Sprint brought to the table was a vast trove of mid-band spectrum. And when we think about spectrum, we sort of think of low, mid, and high band spectrum. And while the low band is very valuable in covering a lot of wide open places, when you get a lot of people together and there's a lot of density, you need spectrum that can scale up and provide a lot of capacity, but also do things like go indoors and provide coverage in people's houses and other areas in sort of suburban and urban areas. The mid-band spectrum that Sprint brought to the table is perfect for that. It is sort of it's the Goldilocks of spectrum for 5G. So that's what we're really excited about, and we are laser focused on getting that deployed as fast as we can.
Is your area at T-Mobile all in the consumer side advantages, or are you also doing some industry and kind of vertical solutions also?
Yeah, good question. It's across the board. My team on both the device side and in our lab teams, we are working with all sorts of partners to create and test new ways of utilizing 5G on the consumer side, on the business side, IoT, kind of across the board. We're getting interest from everybody, and there's a lot of promise. When you look at a lot of industries, there is opportunity everywhere, right? And I think if you put the right technology in the right places, you can solve some really, really interesting problems for people.
Yeah, just because it's so timely, I've heard about and been brought into a few opportunities. For example, of course, kids who need to get wireless access at home, how do we help solve that problem? And we're setting up, COVID tents out in the middle of, that don't have access to Wi-Fi. So how do you get those laptops and those COVID tents access? So just real tactical kind of timely activities happening now is just amazing from T-Mobile that I've seen. But just as we kind of get to the end here, anything else cool you're working on? Anything you want to tell us about?
I think there's lots of areas out there that we're working on. I'll tell you, one of the exciting ones is the transition we're seeing in gaming, right? A lot of the big gaming companies, Microsoft, Google's getting into it. A lot of these guys have finally made this leap of moving from a console-based solution towards a cloud-based gaming solution. And this is the real gaming stuff, right? This is the high-end, action-packed, really high-end graphics, low latency demand kind of stuff. And that's coming to wireless. And I think what's interesting about that is gamers are some of the most demanding network users out there, right? Those guys know exactly what they need. They spec out their own machines. They do a lot of great stuff, and they're now going to do it on wireless. So it's been exciting to see that. We've learned quite a bit. And I think it's those sort of demanding use cases that are really going to help us kind of get to the next level as we migrate all of these great things to 5G.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned gaming. Lenovo has a Legion team, and they mentioned 5G also for gaming. And I was skeptical. My kids play games, and one of them plays this League of Legends, and everybody wants to plug in, right? But then when they heard about the latency and the ping times that you can get over 5G compared to even plugging into home wireless, it's so much better. Even the millisecond advantage in ping time, they were all excited about it. So I was like, okay, I didn't understand the advantage of gamers until I heard about it. Really,
yeah. No, I mean, low latency is critical. Great throughputs, reliable throughputs. But I think what's really exciting is it also really opens up some of this gaming to people that really didn't have access before. Some of these game consoles can get expensive, all the gaming packs and all those sorts of things. There's a really high bar of entry for some of these gaming solutions. Whereas now all you need is a phone connected, and you can start playing, right? And so I think it's really going to open some things up. And I really think it's really in providing greater access to more people to do some really fun stuff.
That's awesome. Well, Grant, thanks for your time. This is a quick introduction. I feel like we could have covered 100 other topics, but appreciate you joining today, and maybe we'll get you back on the show some other time.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Thanks.